All right, we've all seen the analysts touting that gold and silver are going to go to the moon any day now. Um, Gold bugs tend to be very emotional and somewhat irrational investors, and they buy into this every time. And then of course, if it doesn't play out, then they become very frustrated and angry. They usually use too much leverage. They focus only on metal trades when there's easy money to be had in the stock market and energy. But um, I'm going to point out here that the future direction of gold is almost certainly dependent on the direction of the dollar. So this is the dollar chart. This was the last 3-year cycle low in the dollar here in early 2018. I think if allowed to run naturally, we probably would have had our 3-year cycle low right here. I think we would have broken at least marginally below this, probably tested this before this 3-year cycle would have bottomed. But we're in the middle of a currency war. The ECB is trying to weaken their currency against the dollar. The Fed's trying to weaken the dollar against the euro, and the ECB won this war. They stopped the 3-year cycle low a little prematurely. So this is the confirmed 3-year cycle low right here. In fact, if it had been allowed to run naturally, it probably would have occurred here in May or June with some kind of an undercut and maybe a test of this low. But it is what it is. And this is, I think this is the problem that we have with gold right now, is the dollar is rallying out of this 3-year cycle low. And it's just, I think it's just going to boil down to whether or not the Fed can gain control of the currencies and get the dollar moving back down. If this could turn out to be a top and the dollar turns back down and we start the declining phase of the next 3-year cycle low, then I don't think the cartel will be able to keep gold suppressed, and gold will, if it didn't give us a intermediate cycle low in August, then maybe it has to make one more lower low, but it's just going to boil down to whether the dollar turns back down here and starts an intermediate decline. But there's some risk here. We've kind of got this triple top forming, and if the dollar breaks out of that triple top and this 3-year cycle continues to rally, then it's going to continue to put pressure on, or it'll put pressure on gold, and it's going to make the cartel's job easier, much easier to suppress gold if the dollar continues to rally than if the dollar rolls over. If the dollar rolls over, the cartel's going to have a very difficult time trying to keep gold suppressed. All right, so let me zoom in here, and you can see kind of what we're up against here. We've got some back and forth, crazy back and forth swings here. We had a big rally in the dollar, and then the very next day sells off again, and then on Friday back up again. So we've got a real battle in the currency wars going on right here, and it's anyone's guess as to who's going to win this. If the Fed gets control of the currencies, then the dollar will start down into an intermediate decline. And in that scenario, then gold will probably hold above that August low and start the next phase of an intermediate advance. Let me go over to gold here real quick. All right, so we're kind of in no man's land here. If the dollar continues to rally, makes a higher high, the cartel's it's going to be easy for the cartel to keep smashing gold. They would like to drive it below this August low, make a lower low, in that scenario, I think I would probably there'd be two ways to view this. You could say this is an intermediate cycle that's left translated to an extreme degree, and then we got 2 more months of going down before this bottoms. But I think the more likely scenario would be um, if this comes down and breaks this. I don't know that it would break it by a whole lot. And then at some point, the dollar is going to turn down into an intermediate decline, and then that's when gold would rally. So my feeling is the more likely scenario is that this just turns into a really stretched intermediate cycle if gold breaks this and if the dollar continues to rally and makes a higher high. All right, so here's one of the big problems we have. The cartel has been attacking the miners. That's why I'm not really fond of mining stocks anymore. They're just they're the main target for these attacks. If um, along with if the dollar's rallying and the cartel can just naked short the miners into oblivion, then it's tough for gold to rally. And um, they have pushed mining stocks below a major support level right here. We had a brief break of it back in the spring, and then we had a rally. Looked like we were finished with this decline, and then we get the big attack on the June FOMC meeting, and they've been just hitting these stocks ever since, and they've broken the support zone, and we're kind of in an air pocket here. There really isn't any support on this chart. So this is this is dangerous for the metal sector as long as the mining stocks are in this air pocket. And if the dollar continues to rally, then I would say the cartel is going to be have a pretty easy time trying to drive gold down below that August low. We need the dollar to top. It needs to roll over and it needs to start down into an intermediate decline. And it's anyone's guess as to whether or not that's gonna happen. So it's basically it's anyone's guess as to where gold is going here in the near future. If the dollar continues to rally, then the cartel is going to bring it down and it's going to try and break um, this triple support zone right here. If the dollar rolls over, then we're going to get a rally and we're going to maybe come back up and test this 1900 level again. I don't know that there's much hope of breaking this top. Not during well, there's no hope at this point. I don't think during this intermediate cycle anyway. And I've tried to get gold bugs. As I said, gold bugs, they tend to be very emotional. They tend to focus only on their preferred asset, the metals. Probably the second most heavily manipulated market on the planet. They're trying to short-term trade this heavily manipulated market, and they use way too much leverage. And so the cartel just fleeces them over and over and over. And in the meantime, there's easy money to be had in the stock market and easy money to be had in energy markets. But it's very difficult to change these people's trading patterns and get them to, give the metals a rest for now and trade where the manipulation is in your favor or where, in sectors that are in bull markets, where you can make some money while you wait for this to resolve. But most gold bugs, they just don't, they're focused on their one preferred asset class, and they will fight to the death in this difficult market, trying to eke out a profit in a very heavily manipulated market when they could be making easy money in stocks and energy.